Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to the grand finals of the GSL Codes Season 2 for 2025. It's time for a best of 7 series of Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Persephone. Now spotting right here in the top left hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones, a man who is no stranger to grand finals. We're looking at none other than Rogue's main base. His opponent all the way in the bottom left. Well, this man, I actually just looked it up. He won a GSL Codes back in 2014, which is like 6 years ago, give or take. With the red Protoss pieces, he goes by the name of Classic. A pretty recent victory, of course, for Classic. All jokes aside, both of these guys have been playing for a very long time, and it's nice that they still have it. They went off to the military, they did their thing, they came back. Took them a little while to get back into, well, the shape that they are in right now, but it is good to have them facing off against each other all these years later. Now, Rogue, of course, is part of the exclusive club of StarCraft 2 millionaires, players that have made $1 million in tournament earnings, at the least. I don't know exactly where Rogue is currently at. I think he's at like 1-1, maybe 1-2 or so, something along those lines. Classic at maybe about 400, 500-ish. So a little bit lower. No denying that, but there's no denying that both of these guys have won their fair share of tournaments. And to see that they, in 2025, are still going at it is, of course, amazing. Now, Persephone is a fantastic map. I always like Persephone, even though Classic apparently is doing the thing that is mostly just there to antagonize spectators and commentators alike. He decided to put the Pylon right outside of the Pylon indicator spot that the map maker of Persephone so diligently crafted onto the map. He doesn't care. He's too cool for such things, and in this particular instance, it really doesn't matter, but we always do see this from Protoss players. They're a little bit stubborn, taking a page out of Hero's book, maybe. Either way, Hero is not in this finals. Classic, though, has stepped up a lot over the last couple of months. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't all too impressed by Classic gaming, or Classic's gaming, rather. I watched a few of his replays, and it just looked very, very sloppy. And he still has moments like that, especially when he gets thrown off. He just kind of looks like he's never played a game of StarCraft before, or when he like goes full autopilot. Sometimes the games just look a little bit messy, but when Classic is on point, he looks like an absolute monster. Now, likewise, Rogue, I really like Rogue's Zerg versus Terran. I think in ZVT, he can win against basically anybody. I haven't been as impressed, however, by his Zerg versus Protoss. But obviously, if you need to, well, if you can make it to the grand finals of the GSL, you have to take on a bunch of Protoss players along the way too. And Rogue did look pretty solid from what I have seen in those particular series. So, probably not his favorite matchup. He would have rather faced off against a Terran player, but Protoss is what you're gonna get, and if you want to win a tournament, this is the way to get it done. You need to be able to beat everybody. All right, Oracle start here. Now, this will be a nice thing, I guess, overall for Rogue. Classic does mix it up from time to time, but across the board, he's a very standard player. I have seen him do a little bit of like a quick Tempest build. Actually, he did that in the past on this particular map. I've only seen him do it in like one game though, so I'm not exactly sure if that is something we are gonna get from him, but yeah, I'm gonna make the assumption at the very least that Classic will mostly be opening up with what we consider to be the gold standard, so that would be Adepts like this over here into a little bit of Oracle harassment, and then usually, and this is already not ideal for Rogue, usually we go into Blink Stalkers from here, although there's quite a bit of variety from there. The Queen was just about ready to go down to the low ground and help out against that one Adept. So, yeah, Classic sacrifices the Adept, but gets 6 drones in return. There are a few Zerglings now on the other side of the map, but there's already another Oracle ready to go. That shield battery removal, right? Like the shield battery overcharge removal. It's been replaced by the energy recharge, and it is making all of this way easier for Protoss players, because just recharging the Oracles and using it to zap away at those Zerglings, it's gonna allow you to keep that third base alive relatively easily. And here we go. Twilight Council together with a Forge on the back of this. Now, Zergs in the early game don't seem to have a lot of options at the moment. Against Protoss, at the very least, we rarely see Zerg players do anything other than what Rogue is doing right now. There is a bit of variety, I suppose, when it comes to like the +1 melee or the +1 missile, or if you want to go roaches, or maybe like something Ling Bane based. But most of the time, Zerg players in the early game are just treated as like a punching bag, where they're very much so just trying to stay alive. Rogue actually grabbing an extremely quick 4th. This is a 4th base before he's even remotely saturated on his 3 bases, which is quite interesting. It probably means that he hit a supply block or something along those lines, and he decided to just spend his minerals somewhere. And this is the type of stuff for Zerg that if you're not careful, right, Protoss can just overwhelm you. So, follow-up here for Protoss is going to be Blink together with +1. We've got ourselves a Templar Archives already planted down. And some very aesthetically pleasing gateways. Look at them. Finished up 2 at a time. I mean, it's kind of pretty. Maybe the pylon over here could be just 1. But I don't think that's really the most important part. But it does look nice. There's the lair, though, coming up. +1 melee is a nice gamble here for Rogue. You never really know what Protoss exactly is going to go for. But +1 melee is really quite nice. When you go up against... Okay, maybe some final jitters here coming in for Rogue. Not the tidiest gaming. Okay. Gotta be careful here. Yeah, I think he's feeling the heat. Even though he's a very seasoned player, we see some relatively sloppy moves here from Rogue. Now, none of it here is particularly important yet, but this isn't quite that tidy gameplay that he normally displays. Anyways, he decided to go +1 melee, which against a Stalker follow-up is really good. However, we already have Classic following the Stalkers up, of course, with High Templar and Storm. And Storm is going to be phenomenal against Lingbane-based armies. It is going to be Lingbane. No Hydra dead. Instead, we've got ourselves an Infestation Pit together with a second Evo. Burrow also coming up. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play out here for Rogue. What in the world is he going to go for? Normally, we have Ravager Lingbane or we have Hydra Lingbane. Now we have Lingbane with more Lingbane. So I'm thinking... Ooh. I'm thinking Ultralisks? But I don't know if I should be thinking Ultralisks, because most of the time Ultras are extremely shaky. Especially when Protoss decides to go for some Immortals. Or just play good old Skytoss, of course. It's still not really the preferred weapon of choice most of the time for Zergs, but... Let's see. Overlord Speed coming up. Burrow, just about to finish too. I like actually that Classic decided to not commit here. So he's been putting in a little bit of pressure with those Oracles, and he settled on dealing 9 workers worth of damage. He's just gonna go. He saw the amount of Zerglings, right? So he's just decided to go for a 4th base, and he's already got Scythe Storm done. He knows it's gonna be difficult to really get a lot of value here by pushing. So you may as well go ahead and just chill on 4 bases. And of course, on 4 bases, that is when Protoss gets really scary. That's when Protoss can go into Skytoss, they can go into a Fleet Beacon, a Mothership. They can do they can do basically whatever they like. It is going to be double Forge upgrades here, though, for the Protoss player. So that does mean a heavy focus on ground. Although we do have the shields coming up, so those are still beneficial as well for flying troops, too. Overseer has seen roughly what's up. And I think for now it's pretty clear that Protoss is going to be difficult to break. Really? So we have an Ultralisk Cavern indeed. Adrenal Glands, no surprise there. But this is a really quick Neural Parasite. Most of the time, Zerg players don't like playing a passive game against Protoss in the mid game. So early on, like I said, Rogue is usually going to be a punching bag, where he's just forced to defend against the Oracles and the Adepts and all the rest of it. Where are we going? What are we doing? There's nothing inside of these Dropper Lords, or Overlords rather. Oh, we are gonna go Dropper Lords. Okay, that's the only thing that makes sense. 7 of them coming up right now. 7 of them coming up right now. There was a strategy a long time ago where Zerg players would like load Overlords up with Banelings and then like carpet bomb the entirety of the Protoss army. Oh, this could be huge for Classic though. Ooh, did he notice? He did. He did. He sees the Dropper Lords coming in. Blink, 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 blink. Oh, disaster strikes here. Although he's one Stalker short, it seems, to be able to one-shot. Recalls into the main base though. He's just decided to slip away again, but that is a really, really nice catch for the Protoss player. There is, in the meantime, some Link Bane shenanigans as well down south, but this has been managed nicely too. And Rogue just not really getting his feet under him. So, I wouldn't mind this if it wasn't like the current state of the ZVP meta, you know? Because this is a pretty even game. But generally speaking, when the game is quite even going into the late game, it seems to favor Protoss. Now this is, however, a bit of an unexplored territory for Zerg. We have a heavy focus on Ultralisks. Ultraling Bane here against this army for Protoss. There's only 2 Immortals out at this point in time. Ultralisks are spawning. Immortals would tear them apart. There is once again, by the way, a little bit of a Ling Bane run by, it seems. 7 probes ended up going down, but what about this fight right over here? The High Templar are storming themselves. Immortals left by themselves too. And suddenly the Zerg army shows up with a whole bunch of Ultras that I don't believe Classic knew about at all. And it turns out the unexpected Ultra can still be good. That's not what she said. No. Anyways, +1 for the air units coming up here as well for Classic, who is quickly going to double down on his Immortal production. Despite the fact that he doesn't have a good answer against these Ultras just yet, if he is given a minute or two, he can very quickly, well, chrono out a bunch of those Immortals and start working on the Ultras. We do, by the way, have to also note that the Oracles have been putting in a lot of work. Oracles with their Pulsar Beams ignore any upgrades for armor. And that is where most of the value of Ultras is at. Oracles just deal flat damage to everything. So, yeah, despite the fact that Protoss just lost their entire army, Zerg lost their entire army and then some. This is still not a bad situation for Classic, but I would love to see him fire up a Mothership. I think the Mothership is a really good choice. He could go into Tempest as well. Wouldn't mind that. Anyways, those Dropper Lords are still hanging out on the left side of the map. A new Nexus is just about to be produced, but the probe is not going to be close by just yet. Both players, by the way, still at 88 workers. So they're having a good time. If he can snipe one of the upgrades, that would be big. Looks like one of the forges is going to take... Oh my lord, okay. Well, I thought it was going to take critical damage, but nope. 15 HP. That's all you need. And he's going to finish up the +3 ground. A little bit lucky there. Bunch of probes once more going down south, but at this point I kind of feel like he's doing Classic a favor. Classic really doesn't need to be sitting at 90 workers. He's going to go in again with a Zergling drop. There's in the meantime also once more a bunch of links down over here. We saw the energy overcharge there being used on the Templar. Zergling drop in the main base, though, is starting to hurt. And ultimately, this is buying a ton of time as well here for the Zerg player. Despite the fact that he's not really, you know, absolutely tearing the Protoss player apart or anything like that, he does deny the +3 shields right here. He did kill a whole lot of workers. 32 probes have gone down. Interestingly enough, on the units lost tab, it says 28 in total have died, so I'm not exactly sure what's happening there. Maybe it's the High Templar that accidentally did a bunch of friendly fire? I'm not sure. Anyways, Classic has lost a lot of resources, but he still has a banger army. And that is where I am mostly concerned right now for Rogue. This is still a Protoss army that needs to be respected. Now the Tempests are coming up, and now the Mothership is also coming up. Rogue, though, is being relentless. Lately, players have been hard countering his Mass Nidus style. He's decided to completely mix it up here with Mass Overlords instead. Not nearly as easy to deny, but also more costly to execute. I would love to see the Tempest just using their guns. How many Tempests are there? There's 2 of them, yeah. Maybe just send the Tempest after those Overlords, man. Get them out of here. Okay. In the meantime, Rogue is taking the gold base. He may have lost the hatchery earlier, but he's quickly remade it, and his creep spread is once more well underway. We also do have, of course, that Neural Parasite upgrade already done, and Rogue does have a lot of infestors. Look, if he can Neural Parasite the Tempests, the Immortals, Archons, High Templar, I mean, there are some juicy targets here. If he can take control, especially of the Immortals, though, this Protoss army is going to get absolutely torn apart. Now, there is a weird thing, though, in the Zerg unit composition, and that is that there is literally no anti-air. So his only anti-air is Neural Parasite, I guess. Like, trying to take control of the opponent's air units is going to be his best anti-air, which is always a little bit risky. He is going into a Spire now, second Spire, that is. +1 air coming up here for the Zerg player. I would love to see these infestors go underground, though, because if you keep them above ground, I mean, I believe they've already been spotted. It becomes pretty obvious that that is going to be his weapon of choice. Rogue, though, setting up a little wave of spore crawlers here. I think he's ready for a turtle style. The only reason why you would be building them over here right now is if you're ready to turtle. Okay, Classic is, for all intents and purposes, maxed out again. He's leaving a little bit of supply in the tank so he can warp in some Zealots against the Zergling drop or something along those lines, as we have another Baneling roll by hitting him. Base at the 3 o'clock was bait, it seems. Rogue was never really intending on mining it. Mostly just trying to use this as an opportunity to maybe strike right here, right now. Cloaking Field gets activated. That is not the angle from which Rogue wants to fight, so he decides to back up. We are now, by the way, at almost 12 Immortals. So that is an awful lot. Maybe too much. Zealot here working out together with his probe buddies to shut down the Nidus Worms. It was only the first one, but Rogue buying so much time. He's killing some of his own Stalkers, actually. Classic, that is, to replace them with more High Templar. Ultra here trying to see if it can potentially join in, work on some of the static defense, and actually tank some of the damage so the Zerglings can actually tear everything apart. I'm really liking what Rogue is doing so far. I'm just holding my heart here for when the armies ultimately clash. I've got a feeling that if it's one of those fights that lasts about 3 seconds in total, it is going to favor Rogue tremendously. But if the fight lasts for a little bit longer and Protoss can actually get multiple shots in with the Immortals and all that, if you can wait out the duration of several storms, life is going to be fantastic for Protoss. But it all comes down to the neural parasites. These army sizes are nice and all. They're pretty much even. It mostly comes down to which Protoss units switch sides. Neural parasite has the potential to absolutely end this game. Zergling's going in again together with the Ultralisk. Immortal has been tasked with shutting down the Ultra though, but this is still going to put in some work. You can see here that Classic is waiting to lose some supply before he actually is able to warp in reinforcing units. How many Infestors are we? 11. So there's as many Immortals, or as many Ultras rather, as there are Infestors right now. Here we go. Oh, 1 Neural on an Archon, 2 Neurals on an Archon. Still not the cleanest location, but he decides to go for Microbial Shroud. Still though, a lot of the Immortals here are having a good time, and these Immortals just tore the Ultralisks apart. Yeah, and I feel like in isolation, many of the battles were won by Rogue, but did he actually win the war? GG. Turns out I was wrong. That fight took about 3 seconds. And I figured that would benefit the Zerg, but ultimately, those Immortals just absolutely destroyed the Ultras. Yeah, we did see a couple of nice Neurals coming down, right? And the Neural Parasites did ultimately help out a little bit, but you can kind of tell why a lot of Zerg players are hesitant to play a late game against Protoss. Okay, and Rogue decides to mix it up right here on map number 2, which will take place on Torches. I know as a Zerg player, that's a bit of a frustrating game to watch, right? Because you kind of look at that game and you're like, well, Rogue has been doing some tremendous amounts of damage. He killed like 40 plus workers that game. He had mass expansions all over. His economy was great. He'd been building up the spore crawler count. He had double spire. He had a little bit of everything. He was ready to play a long drawn out macro game, but then at some point Classic just had his bulldozer army ready to go and he A-moved. Yeah, you just storm a little bit and you A-move. Well, time to mix it up. Obviously that's not entirely fair, right? Classic played, well, ultimately very intelligently. He knew that what he needed was just that ultimate army of his, and that's what he got. You don't care about the damage in the process. As a matter of fact, you sort of embrace it, because the lost workers can be replaced with even more army. And then you max out with like just like 150 supply or so worth of Protoss army. It's not to be underestimated. Okay, now what are we having over here? Torches is a bit of a strange map. It features these golden bases, but they're very much so in the middle. At least when it comes to, like, you know, the vertical middle. So we have a first expansion on the left side of the map, which is a gold base. And then we have a second expansion on the right side of the map, which is also a gold base. How do we deal with this? Well, I can guarantee you that Classic is not gonna be able to just let the Zerg player sit on this. So I think the idea behind this here for Rogue is just to force some sort of action out of Protoss regardless. If you decide to play a passive game again like we saw in the previous one, at least after the Oracle harassment, you are likely to get absolutely torn apart by the Zerg economy. 1 gold base, maybe okay. 2 gold bases, though, is too much. Now, Classic has seen one of them. He doesn't know about the one on the right, but I think he did see a bunch of units move in that direction, so he should be able to put 1 and 1 together. Stargate, by the way, is out. We are going to go for the first Oracle right here. We should really see a Spore Crawler, though. Without a Spore Crawler, there we go. This is going to be nearly impossible to hold. 323 or so on that Spore should be okay. There is a Queen, together with a Spore Crawler. Okay. Yeah, hard to say exactly what changed in ZVP that caused that previous game, really, right? Because it felt like Rogue was dealing so much damage, but then... well, ultimately, you have to be able to beat the main army, and Zergs really are struggling dealing with that main army. I mean, it ultimately comes down to the Neural Parasites. Without Neural, on the entire Protoss army there, it is very difficult for the Zerg. So this is an extremely quick Evo Chamber, it feels like. Maybe he just wants to play +1 melee again, but considering the spot he's in, Rogue really is holding on quite well. I'm surprised that Classic isn't more committed. Having this much Zerg economy early on is really going to be a problem for him. And usually it's easier to clean up earlier than it is later. Oh, he decides to go Glaives. Is he just going to skip the gold bases and try to go after the main base of the Zerg? Is that what we want to go for? Seems like that may be the plan here. +1 melee, by the way, is coming up. Yeah, and I don't actually mind this all too much, because obviously Zerg is extremely disjointed. He was hoping to catch a little bit more than just a single Zergling. These Adepts are not going to live for too long, but he will see exactly what he's going up against, and it is going to be +1 melee again, together with the Baneling Nest. Now, he doesn't know about the +1 melee, but by seeing the Baneling Nest, he knows that that is 9 out of 10 games going to be the norm. As we have the drones slowly working away at this backdoor entrance into the Protoss bases too. But in the meantime, while this is happening though, I mean, Zerg has been mining those golden mineral fields. Normally Zergs would like to be ahead in the worker count right now, but Rogue doesn't really need to be. I am surprised that Classic is just sort of allowing this. I think it's a mistake. If this next wave of Adepts doesn't deal a lot of damage, he is going to be in a world of trouble. And technically, I think that Rogue has the units to deal with it. Still though, it's a difficult base layout here for the Zerg to actually control properly. Oh, if he can get the wrap around here, that would be massive. Yep. Shade, 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 shade! You gotta shade away, dude! Yeah, now we shade. Okay. It's like you suddenly forgot that there's brakes on your car. What was what was that? We just, I mean, you've probably seen those internet videos, right, about somebody completely locking up when they're in a crisis scenario, and that kind of seemed like the StarCraft equivalent. Classic just kind of sitting there freezing entirely. Not achieving too much there. The big problem here for Classic is that he doesn't have a third base now. So the Zerg has been able to get away with 2 gold bases, and Classic is stuck on 2. He can sort of try to take this one, but it's going to be hard. He can sort of try to take that one, but it's not going to be much easier. And this is what I was trying to say earlier, right? Classic has these moments in his games where he just kind of looks like he's forced to like think on his feet. And it doesn't seem like this is a scenario you can really practice for, so you're kind of forced in that direction here as the Protoss player. I think this is nicely done here by Rogue across the board. Rogue definitely the better player when it comes to thinking on the fly and coming up with a solution to weird problems. Thinking is every StarCraft player's worst nightmare. Trying his best. Get a couple roaches, that's nice. Zerglings though, swoop around the side. Nice stasis ward there ultimately. Fourth base coming up. Now, one thing that we don't see here for Rogue at all is creep spread. Yeah, I mean, sorry, I didn't want to like completely nullify your work here, but other than this Overlord trying his best, there is effectively, oh, and this guy too. There's effectively no creep spread at all, and that is going to make this game quite difficult for Rogue. Classic, trying to just build up his army. I feel like he can actually just kind of chill. He doesn't really need to make a big push right here. He's killed one of the 2 gold bases. He must have figured out by now that there really isn't a whole lot of worker income here for Rogue. I think Classic could just chill and go for a bulldozer approach again. He doesn't know though, right? He's a little bit afraid if he lets the Zerg player sit back, he might go up against Niduses. He might go up against the Spire, something along those lines, and this is not a Zerg. Or this is not a Protoss army that can deal with that at all. What about this, though? Force fields going in. Force fields looking strong. Stasis ward looking really good as well. And this is some excellent micro. Other than an Oracle getting caught right there in that one corrosive bile. But this is some excellent micro here coming out of Classic. It's all very disjointed, though. A lot of drones are dying in the meantime. We have some adepts shading around. Normally, glaive to depths not too useful after the early game. I believe 2 of the Immortals lived. Yeah, not bad. But because this is such a disjointed Zerg economy, Classic is using that lack of creep spread against the Zerg right here. These units can't be recalled anymore because recall is on cooldown. So he's really just trying to squeeze as much juice out of those adepts as possible. Rogue has been reduced to just 20 workers. Okay. Classic actually navigating these games really well. I keep thinking it's not a good spot for him in both this game as well as the previous one. But then the army of Protoss actually moves and you realize, wait a second, Zerg can't deal with it whatsoever. Now Classic decides to chill. Look how safe he feels as well. Not a, well, it's just one stasis ward over here, but that's mostly to protect against a Ling run by. He could make a few more though and be a lot safer against the counterattack from Zerg that has to be coming, because you know that Zerg doesn't have a lot of economy anymore. This is for all intents and purposes all in right now for Rogue. Classic though is absolutely destroying the army as he obtains another point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on Incorporeal. So far so good for Classic. Classic may take a stupid amount of damage in the process. He may lose many battles, but as long as he wins the war, it will work out for him. And that is a theme so far in the first 2 games of this series. Rogue is heavily out-strategizing him, but then everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? And Classic is just sitting there building up his army. And even though Rogue is forced to pull out all of these tricks, when the sledgehammer of the Protoss comes across, it is extremely difficult to stop. So what do you do now here if you are Rogue? I think he does try to play a normal game. Then again, Rogue doesn't really seem to be too confident in playing a normal game of ZVP, but despite being able to get away with 2 gold bases in the previous game, he was still not able to obtain the victory. Difficult to call. Difficult to decide right now. Okay. Where do we go from here? I don't think Classic is going to mix it up all too much. It seems like Classic is making his army decisions mostly dependent on what he has seen from the Zerg, which is kind of funny. Historically, Zerg is always the race that switches around their unit composition especially depending on what they have seen. Seems like Classic is the one, though, that mostly is making the decision, okay, do I want to go for Immortals? Do I need them? Am I going up against Mass Roach? Am I going up against Mass Ultra? I don't really need to mix it up otherwise, but he is scouting, and he's playing it quite safely so far. It's working out. Ugh, now that is extremely sloppy. This is not 2016 anymore. Losing an Oracle against a Spore Crawler and a Queen, or 2 Queens here, is really, really, really bad. Suddenly, this opens up an opportunity for Rogue to go for a big push if he wants to. At least this would normally be when Zerg players go for like a, I don't know, like a Queen drop or maybe like a Queen march. You can send a lot of these troops across the map, and it's difficult for Protoss to defend unless they have everything going for them. Protoss' early game is still very volatile, and it's critical you keep those units alive. Now the problem becomes, though, for Rogue, like, you've already lost 2 games. Do you really want to lose a 3rd and give your opponent effectively 4 match points back to back to back to back? Are you really gonna put it all on the line for, well, a single drop like that? Oh, Classic, what in the world? How did you even... How did you think that was gonna... Ah. Pain! Pain! Classic taking a page out of Hero's book here. I'm a huge Hero fan, but sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it hurts. Well, it's a perfect opportunity now for Rogue to try and lay down the law. Don't commit. Okay, I thought for a second we're gonna commit here as well and lose 3 Adepts as well. Yeah, this is the perfect opportunity for Rogue to be the aggressor. In the previous games, he was the aggressor while not really... You know, the Protoss not really losing any of their early game units. I feel like getting a 3rd base up and running right now is almost a little bit greedy here for Classic. He can only really get away with this if the Protoss player... Like, if the Zerg player allows you to. This is how we're gonna commit? Really? Okay, so we're effectively doing a +1 melee Zergling Baneling timing attack. Normally, this is extremely easy to hold for Protoss players because they have triple Oracle, and they can use Pulsar Beams for days. What about this game, though? Probes need to run, probes need to run, don't clump them up together! Oh, he's gonna recall them, but he's recalling them to the wrong base! Why are we recalling them to the base where they're already at? Oh, God, okay. Classic just completely fell apart. Just the entire game has been an absolute disaster for Classic. Nothing here going his way at all. Losing 2 Oracles to Queens, and then in a pinch, he clumped up all of his workers together against Banelings. He's like, crap, I need to get him out of there, quickly recall. Recalls them to the base that they were already at. So if you have all of your Nexi on the same control group, and you select that hotkey, and then you recall, you will always recall to the closest by Nexus that has the energy available. So, Classic obviously is well aware of that. That's just a base mechanic of StarCraft 2. Yeah, this is not good. Not good for Classic at all. And this honestly has me a little bit concerned for the remainder of the series, because the first 2 games looked strong. This is the type of derping that we see every once in a while from Classic, where it's just, yeah, not good. Like, Classic becomes one of, like, the highest ranked Diamond Leaguers in the world, you know? Not to throw shade at any Diamond Leaguers, but these are mistakes we see mostly in, like, Diamond League, where the game looks very normal until it doesn't, because everything falls apart all at the same time. Okay. Well, now it's time for Rogue to play with his food a little bit. He's got a lot of Zerglings. He's going for a Hydralisk Den. He doesn't really need to take any chances. He knows he's got the Protoss player now contained on 2 bases. In about a minute or 2, these bases will run out. Okay, maybe more like a minute or 5. That's when they will actually fully run out. But it is really, really bad here for Protoss. So Rogue can just do two things. Either deny a potential expansion from the opponent, or you can just wait for the opponent to go onto creep. If he takes a big fight on creep, he's going to be a-okay. So he's at 71 drones versus a Protoss who can not really support more than about 40 workers at this point in the game. So if that's the case, you can just kind of chill. So now he sees that this base is going to be acquired again. At least I'm hoping for him that he's going to get a bit of vision here in a moment. Either way, he's going into Hydras, he's going into Baneling speed. He's got the Hydra upgrades kicking in too. I think as long as Rogue just sends it again and again and again, there's really no way for Classic to hold on. The only way for Classic to really get back into this is if Rogue decides to go AFK for the next 5 minutes. Like, if Rogue just sort of lets Classic do whatever he wants, that would be... He's not going to do that now. He did make a bunch of High Templar, and he does have Size Storm done. Normally, Hydraling Bane, especially without speed, really fishy against Storm. But I think Rogue just has the numbers. Here we go. These Storms are gonna be absolutely... Oh, he's storming his own units. Oh, God. Oh, Classic. He just stormed his own High Templar. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Pylon. It's important here for Classic to put that previous game behind him, because choking in the finals is not the best moment to choke. You know, if we're gonna see derpy games in an online tournament, okay, whatever, it's something you want to avoid altogether. But when you're just about to be able to win a premier StarCraft 2 tournament, I think it's important to, not play games like the one that we just now saw. And that honestly makes me a little bit concerned for Classic for the rest of the series. I don't know if Classic really is a very emotional player. At least he doesn't really show it on the outside in my mind. I don't really recall him ever really looking like he's too upset or whatever, but this is the type of loss, though, that can stay with you for the rest of the day, right? Like, that's the kind of loss that resets after you go to sleep. And then you get to, like, wake up the next morning and you have, like, a full-on reset. I have played a lot of games of StarCraft over the years. When I have a game like that, it is a great indicator that I should stop playing for the rest of the day, because it's just gonna go worse from there. So hopefully for Classic's sake, he can re-grab himself after that loss, because that was sloppy. First adept. It's gone across the map. Zergling Scout confirms that indeed it is once more the exact same build order. Yeah, one of the common bits of advice is just play like Hero. Well, Classic took that a little bit too literal. He's like, oh, this is how Hero plays? Forget units in the wall off, let Zerglings run by. Okay, perfect. Yes, storm your own High Templar. YOLO in your Oracles, put everything on one control group. All Army Hawk. Okay, yeah, no. No, you took the wrong parts of Hero's gameplay, man. You want to play like Hero when he's playing, you know, like max specs. Wait, no. Okay, no, hold up. No. You get what I'm trying to say. You gotta take the right things. Alright, Evo Chamber again for Rogue, and I'm assuming we're gonna see Baneling Nest every time. A little funky, by the way. Normally, Zerg players go Roach Warren instead of Baneling Nest. Rogue has now gone Baneling Nest 3 games for 3 games. So I'm assuming we're gonna do 4 for 4. This is much better, by the way, with the Oracles. Already a good bit of damage done. A bunch of workers have died. Adepts are being, kept around here as well. Lovely. 7 workers, 4 Zerglings. That's what we want to see. Unless you're a Zerg player, then you probably want to see more of the previous game. Alright. +1 melee, though, is here. And I'm assuming Baneling Nest? Baneling Nest? Baneling Nest? Baneling Nest? Oh, we go Lair instead. No Baneling Nest. No Roach Warren either. That's a little bit weird. We'll have to keep an eye out on the production tab there for the Zerg. Classic, though, in the meantime, just going for a standard 3rd base timing, together with the Blink and the +1. And I'm assuming a Templar Archives. Over here. Put a... Oh! Ah! So close, yet so far. One day I'll get the box right. Okay. Zerglings, swoop in. Trying to get a little bit of damage here. 3 probes is honestly not bad. I think Rogue actually is just gonna go straight Hydras or something along those lines. It's gonna be difficult though to deal with those Adepts right now. A little bit disjointed. I really don't like that the Adepts are not standing right next to one another. It means that there's way more surface area here for those Lings. That's a little bit sloppy. Okay. 5 drones though is not bad. But I think it's better to keep those Adepts at home. Storm coming up right now. Yeah, luckily there's still those Oracles, right? Without Oracles, it's very difficult to hold on to those bases. Oh no! Are you kidding me? This is the oldest trick in the book. I'm gonna back up for a little bit. So Rogue actually face checks here with the Zerglings whether or not that Stalker is on hold position. If the Stalker is not on hold position, it will detect something it can attack and then run away. Oh, hey Zerglings. Hello. Oh, okay, now here we go. High Templar is gonna go down. Oracle is obviously here, but the second Oracle is not. Ah. And Protoss is very delicate. Like, Protoss is extremely fragile. All StarCraft races are. Yeah, I think 5 probes is actually still okay. That was actually a lot of Zerglings too, so maybe not the end of the world there for Classic at all, but that is the type of play, though, that can very quickly turn a game around if you're not careful. And also, once more, something we see from Hero all the time. A little bit painful. Now we have a Baneling Nest coming up. I think he forgot about it. Yeah, if Protoss players had a similar mechanic as a supply depot that can go up and down, I feel like Protoss are gonna win so many events. If they can just lower a pylon and up a pylon or whatever, they're gonna win way more tournaments. Protoss may have very advanced technology, but they don't have a door. Pretty wild. Imagine life without a door. Humans lived without doors for a long time, by the way, man. Well, maybe not. I'm trying to think. If I had like say I was like, you know, say I was around 100,000 years ago, right? And I had a really nice cave to call my own. I would probably put something at the end of the cave. Yeah, I would probably put something at the entrance. You would have to. You would have to. Humans have been playing with doors for way longer than we realized. There's no way. Has to be human instinct to wall yourself off. Oh. Well, that means that there's only one Oracle remaining. Still though, we've once more arrived at a game where Protoss is not in a great position, but also by no means a bad one, right? And this is now the type of game too, where Rogue doesn't really have a timing attack lined up. Now, he's not going Ultras, so I'm already liking his chances better than game number 1. He's going full Hydraling Bane instead. As soon as Classic realizes this, and I think he did just now, he should go back and chill. There's really no reason to play too aggressively against this, because you can just win by going into full Sky Toss. I really don't think Classic needs to be too aggressive right now. If you fight at this point in the game, that's exactly what Rogue wants. Rogue is trying to play Hydraling Bane so he doesn't have to play late game against you. He doesn't have a Hive, he doesn't have an Infestation Pit, he is planning to avoid the late game altogether, so fighting on creep is exactly what they want. Little Baneling roll by over here though, the majority of the Protoss army is currently chilling on the left side of the map doing nothing. I feel like strategically this is a big error from Classic. Losing the Prism as well? Ugh, yeah, losing the Prism. He does get a hatchery for his troubles, I guess. We get some storms down. Game number 1, it kind of looked to me like Rogue was having some Grand Finals jitters. Now it's Classic who's starting to show it in the previous game and then this one as well. There's really no reason to go out onto the map right here as a Protoss player. You should really just try and go into Sky Toss and get the Mothership out and all that. Like, Mothership is effectively a win condition here. Instead, fighting this far out. Like, look how slow this Protoss army hasn't really done anything. I mean, he killed one of the bases of the Zerg, but it's one of like 6. Yeah, I think if Classic was going up against the Zerg, who was going quick hive and quick lurkers and all the rest of it, then attacking in the way he did just now makes a lot of sense. He keeps storming his own units too, by the way, whenever he does these storms. I find this all very questionable. Yeah. Solid macro by Classic across the board. It's a lot of strong autopiloting skills. But as far as execution goes, I think there's a ton of room for improvement here. Momentum is shifting back. Momentum is swinging once more in favor of Rogue. The first 2 games, yeah, the first one was honestly very close, right? With different neurals, that fight would have looked very different. Game number 2 was rather sloppy and Classic just simply played way better. But then the last 2 games, I mean, game 4 started off pretty well for Classic, but then fell apart. Game number 3 was an absolute disaster. Generally, it can be very nice to look at momentum throughout a series. And Classic now playing 2 pretty rough, 2 pretty sloppy games back to back, right? Makes me a little bit concerned for the remainder of this particular series. Rogue by no means playing it particularly tidily either, though. Making some interesting strategic choices. Never quite going for what we consider to be the standard, which is quite funny. So look, in my mind, right? Say you struggle as a Zerg player in Zerg versus Protoss. What you do is you look at what Serral does and you try to copy that really hard. And if you don't really like what Serral does, maybe you look at, I don't know, what Raynor does, or what any of the other top-level Zerg players do. And all of them play a Roach-based mid-game into a Hydra Lurker-based late-game. We see transitions from there, and we see a lot of variety. But I don't think Rogue has made a Roach Warren yet this series, has he? Like, we're coming up, this is game number 5. We're coming up on like an hour of gameplay now. Have we seen a Roach Warren? I think what's going on so far is that Classic is playing a little too much on autopilot. So the strategies here for Rogue are working out better than they are supposed to. Classic is playing this as if the Zerg player is going for a normal mid-game into a normal late game. And that's the reason why he's moving out. That is the reason why he's being aggressive. But against a full Ling Bane-based army, you really don't have to play like that. You can just chill. You can just sit back on your bases and hang out for a little while. If you take the more passive approach against that type of style, I think you just overwhelm it with relative ease. So hopefully Classic has had a little bit of time here to think, right? Usually, so these games are obviously played with little ad breaks and whatnot in between. You get a bit of time to think, maybe you get to talk to somebody else about it too. Maybe very helpful to just listen to one of your Protoss friends and what they have to say. Because I can imagine a Classic is just not approaching this correctly here. As we do have a Roach Warren now. That's funny. Maybe Rogue is thinking the same thing. But this does have the opportunity though, right? As a Zerg player right now, that Rogue is going to be all over Classic's head. Where like, Classic is going to be just tripping over himself right now. So far, nothing really achieved yet here by the Protoss. He's going to settle for a little bit of creep spread. Fair enough. Little Zergling run by attempted, but already there is a shield battery coming up. Now that he's seen the Roach Warren though, and I wonder if this is bait here from Classic. Now that he's seen the Roach Warren, he may just autopilot again into what he has been doing in the previous games. I wouldn't be surprised if Rogue basically made the Roach Warren just for stall points. Because he has the Baneling Nest again. He doesn't have to make any Roaches, he can just play exactly what he did in the previous games. And it seems like to me that it's exactly what he's doing here. So he doesn't yet have a lair, which is a bit funky. We're 6 minutes into the game, this is all becoming very late now. I think we're just doing another Ling Bane all-in. Yeah, we are. +1 melee coming up. Classic is making the assumption that this is going to be a normal game, but Rogue is ready to pull it all on the line. He is now starting up a lair, but this is just a good old +1 melee timing attack. Archons immediately get morphed in. The probes, though, are running away. This time, no botched recall. Okay, 2 probes. 2 probes is not enough. He needs to kill this Nexus right now at the bare minimum to make this even remotely worthwhile. Okay, now we see a bunch more workers going down. I don't think he's going to be able to kill the Nexus, though. Is he? No, I don't think so. Those oracles are good enough. Yeah. Much better crisis management this time around by Classic. Cool attempt here, though, by Rogue. Again, a little bit of desperation play for sure. This is the type of stuff, like where you try to sell a Ling Bane all-in by showing a Roach Warren, right? It's a little bit funky. This is the type of stuff you don't do when you feel confident in the matchup. But nice attempt right there by Rogue. Did not quite work out for him. Still, 10 probes is not terrible, but he was hoping for a little bit more. Stasis, okay. Classic, by the way, did not cancel Storm there in a pinch. So no Storm would be a bit of a problem now. I would love to see, therefore, a bunch of High Templar warped in. I don't know why. Yeah, I guess we don't have a lot of gas. We needed to remake a little bit there, but I think going into a bunch of High Templar here and getting the Scythe Storm going would be indeed a great idea. Because Zerg is still playing Ling Bane. It's going to be Hydra Ling Bane again here for the Zerg. So if Classic can just chill. If Classic can just chill and macro up on 4 bases, he's going to be in a phenomenal spot. Don't lose units. Okay. If he can just relax here and try to max out of his own, he's going to be in a great position. Obviously, you do have to make sure that you don't let the Zerglings run into your natural, or a Baneling roll by into your 3rd, or a push here up north at the 4th. But just turn into a punching bag for a little bit and try to max out of your own. Now, you do need to have 4 bases to properly play that Skytol's army. So that's why this 4th is so critical. You can make a bit of a move out, but I think moving on to creep against Hydra Ling Bane is always risky. Letting this army leading this army here with a couple of Zerglings just to trigger any stasis warps is always clever. So far, though, Classic looking strong. Yeah, just let the High Templar accumulate some energy. Get 2 storms on each of them. We have a Zealot and... Okay, a Stalker there. Trying to keep everything safe. So what do you do against this, Rogue? This is effectively the same spot as the previous game, but in the previous game, Classic moved out right about right now. It's not happening. So we go Infestation Pit and then into a Hive, maybe like, I don't know, Brute Lords. It's a bit late right now to go Lurkers, I think. But it does mean that Classic has all the time in the world to go for that maxed out army. I don't think we need to go. I don't think you push right now, Classic. If you push right now, okay. Thought for a second he was going to move out. You're likely just going to get overwhelmed by Zerg from every side. Whereas if you max out, well, you can't go much further than that as a Zerg player either, right? You're stuck at 200 supply. If you max out right now as Protoss, your army is going to be so much better. Look at the army value right now, though, in the top left-hand corner. This is why Protoss should not move out at this point. So much more money here as far as the mineral count goes for the Zerg. Classic, though, has the potential. If he maxes out at, well, this rate, he has the potential to go in. The Immortals are a bit funky. You don't really need Immortals at this point. Yeah, I think Fleet Beacon together with a second Stargate, excellent choice. And this does feel sketchy. Sorry, your monitor is not broken. That's just the map. Leylines has this weird, I think my monitor broke type of moment. Okay, here we go. Zerg in the meantime pushing in all the way up north. The storms need to be good. The storms need to be excellent. Is there enough for the Protoss to hold on here? Ooh, the probes run away. I mean, it's by no means the cleanest engagement, but I think it's good enough. Now picture that fight going down on creep. With Zerg being able to set up the engagement rather than Protoss, right? Without all of the static defense, it would be an absolute disaster. Classic, in this case, holds on, and he's got the Fleet Beacon, he's got the double Stargate, he's making 2 more Immortals for Tassadar knows what reason. I don't know why we're making more Immortals, we really don't need more. Maybe he's thinking about an Ultra transition again. Yeah, Immortal Archon is always good, I guess. Zerg just sending it again, though, with Morling Bane. Wave after wave after wave of Zerg coming in. Immortals are good at tanking damage, though. A lot of static defense coming up here, too. Rogue is gonna try for wave number 2, but there's plenty of energy on the new High Templar because of that energy recharge ability on the Nexus. They are able to get some more storms down. Are we gonna go through the choke point? It looks to me like we are gonna go in through the choke point, and I don't know if it is the right call to make. This time around, Classic sees it coming in from a mile away, and he is not surprised whatsoever about the Zerg showing up again. I love this little Zerg, or this little Protoss warp in, rather, inside of the main base of the Zerg. And we could have had this in the previous game. Like, Classic knew what he was playing against in the previous game. This is what he could have done in the previous game. Just chill. Just chill for a little bit, try to max out. Keeps making more Immortals. He's going 8 Immortals right now against a Hydraling Bane army. I mean, it's not... it's not ideal. Like, he can literally afford a mothership. Okay, there we go. I was gonna say, please make the freaking mothership. It's so much better here. Stasis wards being set up. A lot of static defense here too. But this is what Classic certainly should be doing here. He could even make some carriers if he wanted to. Carriers not very popular in the current meta. Not at least until like +2 air weapons is done. But I think against this type of army, it's not a bad call. Storm. Nice. Yeah, these type of attacks from the Zerg, ever since they reduced the Baneling hit points by 5, these type of attacks just feel very questionable. Hydraling Bane has fallen out of favor ever since. Ravagerling Bane has fallen out of favor ever since too. It's still good as a distraction though. And even though the fight up north doesn't achieve much, this fight over here is way better. There are still some zealots going around to the other side of the map too, but Mama is just about to spawn. There's a bunch of Tempests coming in. Shield upgrades have begun. I would love to see the Cybercore research the +1 air attacks too. But this is now a maxed out Protoss army, and this is what Classic has been building up. Mothership, please join us. You got an all army hotkey here, Classic. Like, unironically, we should actually just bring everything except this Stalker. Okay, yeah, bring it across. Man, Classic is moving at a snail's pace right now, though. You are on a bit of a timer, of course, because Zerg has been basically untouched for a long time. Like, you really don't want to give the Zerg too much wiggle room, but now we have the maxed out army that Classic has been cooking up for a while, and he can do whatever he likes. +1 air, by the way, starts up too. Oh, he's slowing it down. I feel like he obviously doesn't know, right? But if you slow it down right now, that is like the one opportunity that Rogue has to potentially get up to like Brute Hordes. He's a long time away from it, but Classic doesn't know that. Here we go, though. Big commitment here into the Time Warps, too. Oh my god, easiest fight of Classic's life. What about these Banelings over here? Close your eyes, Zerg players. That was, I mean, about the best case scenario, I guess, for the Zerg there, but I mean, you're not gonna win with an early game army against this type of Protoss ball. There's no Prism though, which is a little bit funky. The Mothership is also dying to a bunch of Hydras because it wasn't controlled. I mean, Classic is trying his best to still throw this, but I okay, that's not a nice thing to say. But seriously, can we like... Look how much money he's got in the bank. There was very little control there in that final engagement, stepping onto creep for a very long time. We have so much money, Classic. Can we warp in some stuff? Okay. We're warping in photon cannons. Okay. Now, Rogue is not... He's probably a little confused as well. Why Protoss didn't have as much stuff there as he anticipated. So he is afraid to tech up of his own right now. Once more, goes in through this choke point. I think you need brutes eventually. I don't think you can hold on here by... He's double expanding instead. Classic, we have 8 gateways. Why do we not use them? He's warping in one stalker. Alright. I think he's chilling. Okay, Classic has basically decided, yo, this army is not gonna win me the game. I'll just slow it down some more. Not concerned at all about any of the late game tech of the Zerg. Once upon a time, man, as a Protoss player, when you're stuck on Arkle Immortal, Brute Lords were like your absolute worst nightmare. But apparently Classic is, yeah, just completely happy with whatever the Zerg player can throw at him. So far, he's only seen Hydraling Bane. He's already got Tempest, I guess, and he's not really too worried about it. Oh no, he's just gonna double expand and hang out on a couple more bases instead. Okay. I mean, this is a good alternative choice too. It is mostly really strong though, because a lot of Protosses have become very confident in their late game over the last year. And ultimately, Classic is now building up the ultimate death ball. No more Stalkers, no more Zealots. We're going into a proper late game bulldozer. It's very expensive to produce. You can see here in the top left that Zerg still has a pretty competitive army as far as the mineral count goes, but Zerg just does not have all of the gas that they can really make here. So yeah, now Classic is feeling pretty nice about what he's got. He secured 2 new bases, and ultimately this is also a correct approach here for Classic. Zerg just doesn't have a way to deal with this, I don't think. Unless Protoss really is caught out of position and there's like no micro here. He's only got 2 control groups, it seems. Mothership needs to be controlled separately most of the time. Hydras really aren't a good answer against the Mothership at all, or against Skytals in general. +2 air coming up. That means that carrier production can also begin. Carrier production would be really nice. Yeah, and I just don't think that Zerg has a way to deal with this right now. Like, there are ways to do it, but this army composition for Zerg shouldn't work. Time warp, can we see some storms? Oh, those storms were very late. Still though, the Zerg army just absolutely disappeared. GG. Next up, we find ourselves on Tokome, which is match point right here for Classic. This is his opportunity to win another GSO Codes for the first time in a very long time. Now, I think this entire series, it has become pretty apparent to me that Rogue does not want to play late game at all. He tried playing late game in the first game of the series. He went for a very, let's call it alternative unit composition with Mass Infestor, Mass Ultra. It absolutely disappeared in about 2 seconds time. And ever since then, he is desperately trying to avoid late game. And he would rather lose his army 17 times, his mid-game army, than face off against Protoss in the late game. There are ways to play late game as Zerg. I do think it's very freaking hard. But we do see Zerg players, like for example Serral, have a lot of success with it. Now, of course, there have been some series as of late, specifically between Classic and Serral, that have been pretty telling. I'm sure Rogue has seen those games. And I think Rogue basically decided, yo, Classic wins against Serral in a macro game multiple times back to back. He can win against Serral in a series, in the late game, easily. I am not as good at playing against late game Protoss as Serral is. Therefore, I should probably just not even bother. And I think that's how we got this particular playstyle here for Rogue. I think Rogue is basically accepting the fact that he's not Serral in the late game, and therefore he does not feel like he stands a chance, because Serral is already losing against Classic in the late game. So how would Rogue do it? Now, it makes me a little disappointed, right? Like, I'm a little bit sad about it because Rogue used to be an absolute late game monster. That is, of course, many, many years ago. But there was a time when Rogue was considered to be the best late gamer late game player in the world. I want to say like 2017 or so. Many, many patches ago. Now, this is cheeky here. Classic opening up with an hallucinated oracle. What are we doing? Oh! Classic is going for an all-in. He is pretending like he made a real oracle here to these Zerglings. The Lynx are, however, looking for a third base right now. There is no third. He's making it, but I think this is a fake. Classic, yeah. Classic is faking a third. He's going to cancel this third. This is a 32 probe all-in. I haven't seen Protoss players fake a third base in a very long time. There was an infamous match a long time ago that MC played, where he went for a very similar approach. That just made me sound very old, didn't it? Anyways, he just snuck out a prism, and he is ready to bring home this GSL Codex victory by going for a very cheeky all-in. There is an Overlord here. Rogue is going to see the... Yeah, there it is. He's going to see the cancel. He is going to commit to this one attack. And he'll have to try... I mean, you guys could just walk around, man. It would be about as quick. Anyways, he's going to try and put it all on the line. Rogue now sees what's up. He's noticed that the base has disappeared. He needs to get stuff done right here, right now. Now, I think this is the type of game that Rogue much prefers playing compared to the ones that we just now saw. But this is well memed right here by Classic. Showing up at a very weird time, but still, Queens are scary. Zerglings are scary. The Zerg defense is in general very strong. He decides to back up over here too after that warp in did not quite work out. There is a single Spore Crawler trying to slow all of this down. Rogue is ultimately sitting here with like 50% more economy compared to the Zerg. Prism goes down too. Classic, what in the world was that? Maybe with some micro, these are games you can win, but he just lost the Prism. Yeah, this is a hold for Rogue now. He needs the Prism. You need to be able to juggle the Prism and actually warp in reinforcements. A recall? But somehow only in the Immortal fit in that... okay. It's happening again. We have a repeat of game number 3, although with a very different strategy. There's like... when you go for an all-in like that, there's only one unit to micro, and it's the Warp Prism. Everything else is irrelevant. Players are nervous, right? You can definitely tell. I have seen Classic play some incredibly smooth, beautiful games of StarCraft. But what we've been seeing so far throughout this particular finals, I mean, we've had glimpses of that. But there have been some very sloppy moments too. I actually think if Rogue decided to play a normal late game, he could pull it off against, well, maybe this style of Classic, but... anyway, like not this style, but like this, you know, level of Classic, because Classic certainly is not having his best day ever. Nah, this is not going to work. There's way too much Zerg right now. I love the Evo chambers here, blocking this and making the slow Zealots walk around. We do have another warp in here, but this attack already failed minutes ago. Yep, that is going to wrap it up right here on Tokome. And that means it all comes down to this. Final game in this best of 7 grand finals will take place on Maganatha. I think across the board, Rogue is playing better StarCraft, but he does not want to play late game at all. I think across the board, Classic's long games are significantly better than Rogue's, but he is making a lot of quintessential errors throughout this series, especially in the games where he's trying to mix it up and be a little bit more creative. I think what you do right now, if you are Classic, right, if I was his coach, I would tell him to just play as normal as he can. Just play as normal as you can, and then if you see the opponent is skipping roaches again and he's focusing on Ling Bane, make sure you just chill on 4 bases and try to max out. Maybe slow push your way to a 5th base, you're not in a rush, but try to play that long game. If I was Rogue, If I was Rogue or if I was Rogue's coach, I think you basically have to desperately avoid that exact strategy from Classic to the best of your ability. So maybe focus on Hydra Ling Bane, maybe focus on Ling Bane, maybe Roach Ravager, but really try to deny that fourth Nexus of the Protoss player so they are unable to play that late game. Try to throw Classic off in whatever way possible, because it seems that if Classic is thrown off, he is not playing up to his level whatsoever. Maganatha is a big map though. It is, in my mind at the very least, the most macro-focused map in the current map pool. God, this is ugly. It's... I mean, I guess you can kind of wall it off over there. Anyways, he can't fit a structure. Anyways, it's... honestly, this pylon positioning, if you want to go really deep into the analysis, Classic went to the same Protoss wall-off school as Hero did. They took the same class together. This is arguably, like, every Protoss player looking at this right now is cringing a little bit. It's fine, it doesn't really matter, you can just kind of put a structure, but it's still... anyway. This map is tough, though. I don't think this is a good map for Rogue, actually. Considering the series, like, overall, I don't think this is a bad map for Zerg. But considering the series, I don't actually know the stats for this map. I can go ahead and look it up. Let me see. Maganatha. I think for this particular series, though, the map will benefit the Protoss. Yeah, so Protoss versus Zerg. At the tournament level, Zerg has a win rate of 51.2% on this map. So theoretically, this is a good map for the Zerg player. But I think realistically, with how this series has gone, it's much better for Classic. Assuming Classic just plays normal. We do have to make sure that the Oracles don't just randomly die like what we saw in the third game. They really have to be used effectively. And I think that's what we'll probably see. Like, pretty conservative movement with the Oracles. There's no need to go real deep, but you really can't lose any units for free. Yeah, so he's gonna wall in with the forward gateway instead. Not the preferred choice, but it works. A lot of Zerglings here are already available. Mostly just to maybe snatch up these Adepts if they do decide to show themselves. Third Nexus should start up right about right now. 350 is the normal time. If you macro really well, you can get it slightly earlier than that. 348 on the Nexus is perfectly good. I really think if Classic is going to be able to, like, get into his groove, he is the clear favorite between these two. But it seems like his own worst enemy is his own mind here, where maybe sometimes he feels like he needs to mix it up. Like, I'm playing a Grand Finals, I need to do something weird. I don't think you need to do that at all. I think you just chill. And if the opponent shows you a weird unit composition, make small adjustments, rather than, like, change up your entire game plan. So far, though, what exactly can Rogue go for, right? So I think if you're Rogue here, maybe a Muta play could be good. Maybe... I mean, I don't think he wants to play Hydra Lurker. I would say Hydra Lurker would be the go-to, but I don't think he wants to... He would have shown it already if he wanted to go in for that style. I don't think he can really play the exact same game again, though, because he did Hydra Ling Bane twice now, and sure, it did work one time, but it was mostly just because Classic played the wrong approach against it. Now, Classic knows how to deal with it, right? I mean, that previous game was very dominant. And it was by no means the best execution. Here we go again, though. Baneling Nest is going to be his weapon of choice. +1 ground. Templar Archives. I do love the speed at which Classic gets the Templar Archives. A lot of Protoss players are still a little hesitant. 5.5 minutes. Templar Archives is already here. Classic being extremely conservative here with his Oracle movement in this game. Can't blame the man. You really don't need to be too... Like, you don't have to be too aggressive. There's no need. Checking here. It's a bit of a skill check for Rogue. Is my opponent still paying attention? Okay, he still is. Zergling run by over towards the left. Oracle's not currently here. Still, though, there's enough Protoss army here. I think we're just going to do Hydroling Bane again, looking at Rogue's army here, and it makes me a little bit concerned. I don't think that works out in his favor at all. Rogue showing us the style he would like to be viable, but I don't think it is viable. At least not at this level of play. Photon Cannon coming up, I don't mind that at all. Pretty good against most things that Zerg can throw at you, at least over at the third. Okay. I would like to see a Spire. I think a Spire would be good. I haven't seen these games. So if my prediction is on point, okay, we go Missile and we go Hydra then. Fair enough. Overlord speed. I mean, I always let you know, right, if I've seen a game before. Sometimes people accuse me of pre-watching games. I never pre-watch games. But I see a lot of StarCraft and there's a lot of similarities from game to game, you know? There's a lot of overlap. So sometimes I can make the correct predictions. I actually think this is a mistake, though. Hydroling Bane again? I mean, he's been able to get here completely unharmed. So, Rogue specifically decides that this is what he's going to do. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing him do the same thing again as what we saw in the first game of the series. Because ultimately, those Neurals, they just, yeah, they weren't any good. He could have had much better Neural Parasites, I think. Anyways, we're going to see some Drop Alerts, maybe a merger of game number one, rather, and then the mass Hydroling Bane matches that we've been seeing since then. But I kind of feel like Classic has now got the hang of playing against this style quite well. And I really think that, like, being aggressive against Classic in general is tough. Gonna go for a Baneling drop, fair enough. Another Baneling drop down south as well. Dude, I used to love this. I used to love playing Baneling drops. I haven't seen it in a long time. This is extremely good on the ladder. If you're a Zerg player on the ladder and you struggle against these type of things, highly recommend it. Like, if you struggle against Protoss, Baneling drops have a lot of potential. It's just that if Protoss is good, so Classic, we gotta respond. Please show me that you're good. Okay, we have 0 reaction, although he did react to the ones on the left. Interesting how this one was within vision for a lot longer than the Drop Alert down south. But he didn't react to the one within vision over here, but he did react to the more important one down south. Can we send the probes back? We will send the probes back? Okay. Yeah. Baneling drops. Look, if your entire strategy relies on your opponent making a tremendous mistake, aka your opponent not paying attention to the minimap for like 5 seconds, it's not a good strategy at the pro level. It feels like a desperation play to me. There's no way you're gonna push in here, Rogue. Oh god, are we gonna see the same thing again as what we saw in the previous match? If Rogue, if Classic has his units over here and Rogue pushes in, he's just gonna, I think Classic is gonna absolutely wipe the floor with it. This position here is terrible for the Zerg player to be pushing into. He's got Archons, he's got Storm. I think he just now saw some of the units coming in. There is one High Templar. Good storms to start this off. We get more storms because of the energy recharge ability there too. A second Templar showed up. Probes slither away. Perfect defense right here by Classic. Yeah, that is the best defense we've seen him do so far throughout this entire series. He didn't lose anything. I mean, he lost a couple of units, but nothing important. That was extremely expensive for the Zerg. Pushing into a choke like that is always an uphill battle. I mean, not literally. But that was excellent. Now we go into the second Stargate and the Fleet Beacon. This is exactly what I think Classic needs to do. He doesn't need to do anything else. He doesn't need to go out into the map. I think against Hydra Lurker, against Roach Ravager, you need to move out onto the map. But against this type of Zerg army, you can just sit on your bases and sit. I'm very good at sitting, dude. I don't want to flex or anything, but I've been working on it for a long time. Here we go again. Wave number 2. This one should go worse than the first one, and the first one was pretty terrible. High Templar do stay alive. Good control right here by Classic. A lot of the Zerg units are desperately trying to derp through this choke point into the corner. Desperation play right here for Rogue. Absolute desperation play. He's going to be able to kill the Nexus. but that is the most expensive Nexus skill I've seen in a long time. He didn't kill the probes. Could even double expend at this point. I think double expending is good. Little Zealot run by in the meantime up north keeps the Prism alive. I don't mind it. I think we go Mothership and double Expo. Okay, instead we make Immortals again. Probably better. I don't know. I'm no expert here, but... Okay, maybe I am, but... As far as the specific units go, I think a Mothership here is gonna seal the deal. If you can make a Mothership here, this Zerg army is not made to deal with that at all. We did see Classic earlier lose the Mothership against Hydras. I don't think you should ever lose the Mothership against Hydras. Hydras are kind of garbage against flying units. They should never be able to get within range. It really is just an overextension from Protoss, but... Anyways, he made the fleet beacon, not rushing up to anything. I think he is assuming here that Zerg is just going to rinse and repeat. So Classic probably wants to be like at 190 supply or so before he goes to a Mothership. And we're basically there now. The last 8 supply. There's no way. We're gonna go again, Rogue? We're gonna go again, Rogue? May as well hand him the victory on a silver platter. Yeah, it's not gonna work. It's not going to work. You can't... So ultimately, right, Classic is gonna arrive at the same amount of army supply. So look, this was the first wave coming in right over here, and then the second wave went a lot worse. These waves now ultimately allow the Protoss to be even in the supply count as far as the army size goes. Except Protoss is playing late game, and Zerg is stuck on mid game. Archons can tank about 20-something Baneling hits before they die. And if you don't kill them fully, they will regen. Whenever you see a Protoss Archon like this with 2 HP and full shields, you know it just barely didn't die, usually to Banelings. I love that stasis ward over here. Yeah, this map is really good for Classic now. The other base, by the way, is even more inaccessible. Look at this, we have some Templar set up over there too. Little Zealots now sent around the map just to buy as much time as possible. Classic is gonna try and see if he can maybe move out onto the creep a little bit. Yeah, better not do it. Better not do it. I think he just maxed out, dude. There's really no reason. Maybe if Rogue would have gone 100 drones here. Like maybe 100 drones and you just kind of tried to max that way. Yeah, I like this. Carriers! Let's go! Tempests haven't been too useful throughout this series. Attack upgrades on carriers, though, are phenomenal. Oh, he cancels the carrier, goes double Tempest instead. Sorry, I said nothing. Tempests are more popular these days because they reduce the supply count by 1. Yeah, whenever Classic moves away from his bases, this game is going to be difficult. But he's been doing a good job scouting around the map, and he's seen that Zerg really doesn't have that much money. There's the Mothership. This Protoss army is still getting better, whereas the Zerg army has been more of the same. Time Warp here is also really good. Yep, love that Time Warp over there. The cloaking field gets activated. This time around, the Mothership gets microed properly. This is the Classic we want to see. This is exactly the way you need to play this out. Strategically, it's really clever. Sorry, what? What did we just... He just recalled something towards the Mothership. What did we... What? Sorry. I'm gonna switch to his vision. What did he just recall? He just recalled something with the Mothership. Oh! He recalled the units that are underneath the Mothership towards the Mothership. I think the nerves are back! I think the nerves are back! Okay, Classic, take a deep breath. This game is hard to lose, but if you try hard enough, you might just be able to pull it off. This game is still very throwable, but it does require you to make moves like recalling towards your own Mothership with the units that are already underneath the Mothership. To be fair, that doesn't really matter too much as far as the big picture of this games go, because I think we're going to sit back and Bremax, so you should be able to get that ability available again for the next fight regardless, but I would be able to throw this game from here. It's not a skill that I'm particularly proud of, but I could do it. I would hope, though, that Classic at this point can bring it home. Protoss, of course, hasn't really won a lot of premier tournaments ever since, well, it's funny. So far, over the last, like, 5 years, Protoss has won one tournament, if I'm not mistaken. It's been extremely slim. However, it's all been very recent. The most recent GSL Code S, the one before this one, that one was won by Hero. Now we go Lurkers? Oh god. Rogue is basically saying, yo, leave me alone for the next 5 minutes. And if you do, I'm gonna have a response. I mean, Classic now is maxed out though. Look at the supply count. Classic is ahead in economy. Classic is ahead in army. Classic is massively, as far as the tech goes, ahead as well. He can just go. This is when you can bulldoze. I think you can take the all army hotkey and F2A move, right? And just close your eyes and let Tassadar take the wheel. I mean, if you wait too long, and this is why Classic has been relatively active out onto the map, Lurkers are a real option. But the problem is, right? Lurkers usually force Skytles. Classic is already at Skytles. Like, he's already there. He's already got the units. Plus, he even has the ground army, too, to be killing Lurkers with. So, like, Rogue is basically... This would make a lot of sense if this was, like, the 8-minute mark in the game. But the 18? Nearly 18? Not quite so well. I don't think he's really in a hurry. And I also kind of think here for Classic, he's like, oh, wait a second. This is what you're doing? Juicy Storm? Ah, he saw it too, man. That's the storm of a dream, but didn't quite get it. Extra Stargate coming up. +2 air, also researching. We have successfully pulled the unit away out of the wall off. You love to see it. There's still those 2 oracles from the early game available, so Revelation is indeed an option. Second Cybercore coming up here as well now for the Protoss player, so he can go for double upgrades. And he can slow push his way towards another base, but I really think he can start looking for fights now on the Zerg side of the map. I mean, you do have to have a Revelation, though. Oh my god, those oracles! You completely forgot about the oracles there for a little bit. Yeah, okay, there are some Revelations coming down. Some really good feedbacks as well onto the Vipers. Still, though, a sketchy fight. But he kills one of the hatcheries of the Zerg player, and I think that's good enough. 8 drones end up going down as well. There are now some Lurkers over here. Rogue trying to see if he can maybe pick up the pace a bit. Really no reason for Classic to overstay his welcome. I wouldn't even mind seeing a recall right now. Nice position on the photon cannon as well, as Rogue is not really getting anything going for him. Corruptors are coming. I don't usually mind Corruptors, but this feels a little bit late now. One thing, though, that I do really like here for Rogue is that he did get the +1 air weapons already done. Normally, when we see a late game, like, I need to get this right now, so I guess we may as well get Corruptors, right? We get this late game transition. Usually, they're going to be entirely unupgraded, but I really think we need to continue the upgrades here, because Protoss is going to overwhelm me with double research really, really soon. Well, it is one final game for all the marbles. Classic is certainly at an advantage right now, but this is still difficult for him to close out. He's given Rogue a lot of leeway to potentially get back into the match, and Rogue has, well, taken that opportunity with both hands. It seemed to me like he was entirely allergic to playing late game. Now he's showing us that no, he can actually do it. Then again, though, Classic should be more than capable of doing it too. Great feedbacks. Lovely feedbacks. Classic playing his opponent like a fiddle. Nothing really here within range that can deal damage to him. There are still, I think, a little bit of energy. There's still some energy on this Viper over here. 200. Lurkers once more going around the site, mostly trying to create a distraction. One of the Skytles units there does get abducted into both the Corruptors and then also the Static Defense. More Revelations, though, would be nice. You know what? Rogue is not actually in a terrible position here anymore. He's still certainly at a deficit. I Mostly just concerned for the upgrade situation. Protoss is still improving his army a lot. Ooh, wild overextension there. We could really do with a few observers. Yeah, not the best micro there for Classic. Classic also busy putting out fires, though, at home. Did lose the Nexus up north. He's smelling blood in the water. In theory, Protoss should always be able to feed back all of the Zerg spellcasters. What is this? Oh, no. Oh, Classic, careful now, dude. He did kill the base over here, so at least that's pretty good for him. But you need to be extremely careful. Dark Shrine coming up. +3 air, also researching. The micro here really has been quite sloppy from Classic across the board this entire series long. But I still just like his position so much better. This does not look like the same Classic, though, that recently managed to, well, go toe-to-toe and destroy Sarah. Oh my god, that's it! That's it, that's it, that's it. That's it, right over here. I'm gonna back that one up. Rogue was too busy multitasking. Oh, well, if you ever wanted an example of Archons dealing splash damage, that would be it. Archons deal so much splash damage to clumped up units, only in a very small radius. But that was about the worst case scenario here for Rogue, and immediately Classic decides to strike while the iron is hot. There was a way back into the game, I think, for Rogue. But look, even the abductions right now are having a difficult time. He can warp in some reinforcements, though. We have so much money in the bank here, Classic. Classic makes 1 prism. 14 overload. Oh no. Rogue just looked at his bank and it disappeared, and he accidentally did it because he made 14 overlords right at the very tail end of that game. God, that was a really fun finals to watch. But as far as like high-level StarCraft goes, I have seen both of these players play better than they did in this particular series. Must be some of those grand finals jitters coming in clutch here, but ultimately, we see Classic obtaining the victory here, 4-3 over Rogue, and that means that Protoss has just won another Premier Tournament. You'll love to see it. Now, today I want to give a special shout out to the biggest Patreon supporters. Thank you very much, Ryan, Shren, Rextor, Grimdy, BHC, Jacob, Kranlar, Garing, Dustin, Strategist, Ballistical, Killman, Bindsterk, Papuch, Thort, Sysadmin, Andy. We have Echo Soldier, Nakul, Gavilan, CRX, Robert, Patrick, Doomhome, Brusik, Champ, Jovo, and Lucas. Thank you guys very much, and thank you guys for watching.